What's up everybody, Just Brewing here, and welcome back to the Home Brewery. To celebrate Black History Month, I brewed Black is Beautiful. It's an American Stout, and it's a collaborative effort amongst breweries and its customers to raise awareness for the injustices that people of color face daily and raise funds for police reform and legal defenses for those that have been wronged. The initiative itself was started by Marcus B., the founder and head brewer of Weathered Souls Brewing Company down in San Antonio, Texas. Texas's only Black-owned brewery. I haven't actually been there just yet, but I have to have, they got some great beer. I've had some of it out of a can, and I have to have it in person, so I'll probably be changing that soon. I'm gonna be joining what is over 1,200 breweries that have brewed this beer. I'm not able to donate any profits from the beer because I'm not a licensed brewer, but I will be, as usual, donating my merch proceeds. But to follow in Black is Beautiful fashion, I will be donating my merch proceeds for the rest of the year to the Know Your Rights campaign. So if you're looking for information on the initiative itself or the campaign that I'm gonna be sending merch proceeds to, feel free to check the links in the description. I may be the only one of a few active Black home brewers, at least on YouTube in the community, but I know there are a lot on Instagram, so feel free to add those in the comments as well. I want to connect with more Black home brewers if there are any others out there. So definitely leave some names, accounts, channels, what have you, in the comment below. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into brew day. If you're looking for the specifics about this brew day, check the link in the description. As usual, I'm gonna be using my claw hammer system. I'm gonna start with about 5.5 gallons of reverse osmosis water, and I'm gonna treat it accordingly. For the grain bill, I'm following what was on the Black is Beautiful website, but I've translated it to what I have here at the house and what I can get my hands on from my local homebrew store. For the mash on this 3-gallon batch, I'm gonna be going for about a 90-minute mash, mostly so that I can extract as much sugar as I can. I want this to be nice and strong, and that starts with a good mash. So we're gonna mash for about 90 minutes at a low 148, 149 degrees. At the end of our 90 minutes, I'm gonna get my controller ready for a boil, and I'm just gonna leave the grains in here until about 170, 175 degrees. This is gonna be my attempt at a mash out. I'm not gonna let it sit at 170 or so for 10, 20 minutes. I'm just gonna let it get to 170 or so, because it's gonna take 20 or so minutes to get there. So I'm gonna let it go and ride until about 175, and then I'm gonna yank my grains. Once I get the basket out, I get my bag and I squeeze as much wort as I can out of it because I want to make sure that I have as much of those fermentables in this as possible. As we're creeping up to the boil, I'm going to add in my corn sugar. This is going to raise the ABV without adding any flavor. This is going to help dry it out and give us a nice higher ABV. For hops, we're going with Summit for its spice and citrus notes, and Azacca for its juicy mango and other citrus notes. Black is Beautiful, the original recipe, does use Cascade, and one, I don't have that here. It's easier to use hops that I have, but two, I think Summit is closer to like a traditional stout hop, and Azacca is closer to what they used in Black is Beautiful, so I figured this was a nice compromise, especially since they encourage your own creativity. So here we are. At the top of our 60 minutes, I'm adding a 1/4 ounce of Summit. Halfway through our boil with 30 minutes left, I'm adding another 1/2 ounce of Summit. With 15 minutes left, I start my Azacca with a 1/2 ounce. And at the end of our boil, I'm adding 2 ounces of Azacca. This should really push those tropical citrusy notes. I chill this down to about 90 degrees, transfer it into a bucket, and I aerate. For yeast, we're gonna be using Lallemand Voss Kveik. I wanted something that was going to ferment relatively quickly since I only had so much time before Black History Month ended, and I wanted something that was gonna be relatively clean, and if any notes, it was gonna help buy into the fruity, citrusy notes that we already had in the beer. So Voss Kveik was where we went. I went dry, mostly because I read that if you underpitch, in this case it's a 3-gallon batch, but it's supposed to be 9 or 10%. I was hoping that underpitching it was really gonna help because I've read that that's really good for Voss. So that's what we're gonna go with. I'm gonna get this into my fermentation jacket on top of a heating pad to make sure it stays above 85 degrees for the entirety of fermentation. And fermentation went off without a hitch, no issues. I mean, it was super strong those first 2 days. It did kind of die off, and the temperature slowly crept around 70, 78, 75 degrees as fermentation, completed, because there's no more heat generated inside the bucket. But other than that, everything went well. After about 10 days in the fermenter, it was time to transfer into a keg, carb, and get it ready for the tasting. And here it is in a glass. Black is beautiful. On the color, this thing is dark. I'm talking dark, dark. It really holds up the name, Black is beautiful. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. It's got a nice dark brown foam, and it does stick around thanks to that large percentage of flaked oats. That protein really helps keep the head around. On the nose, you do get a little bit of that spice and just a touch of citrus, but all the flavor comes through once it actually hits your tongue. This is a very nice beer. The beer, it was quite bold and warm when I first kegged it, but now that it's had some time to chill, it is very nice, and it's really soft. It did finish quite high as far as the final gravity, and that's something that I'm working on at the brewery, you know, in the brewery myself. Quite a few of my beers finish high, and I'm still figuring out why. But for this, it actually works out well. It's very full-bodied, and it is sweet, but not too sweet. Not like a lactose-y sweet, or it doesn't have that weird. It doesn't coat your tongue the same way that like a milk stout would, or anything like that. But it's the right amount of unfermented sugar in it, and I think that sweetness does help kind of balance out the roast character. I love dark beers, but some can be a little too roasty. At least the ones that I've done have been too roasty sometimes. But this is really well balanced, and I think it's because of how much sugar was unfermented. Typically, people would, you know, not be terribly happy about that. It's a home brew, so like I'm not too worried about it. It did clock in at about 8.7% when I was hoping for about 10, so we were quite a ways off. That's kind of what happens when you do really big beers in these electric kettles. I did scale it down to about 3 gallons this time, opposed to like when I did an 8%, 9% Imperial Stout at 5 gallons where I maxed out the system. This one I did a 3-gallon batch to help give room. But I think, you know, just maybe some of my brewing practices, there might be something off in my processes that's resulting in a slightly higher beer. This time around, it worked out great. Here in Austin, it is a bit cold, so I don't expect this Black is Beautiful to stay on tap very long. Luckily, I did bottle a little bit of it off, so we'll maybe do another check-in in 3-6 months, maybe a year if I can hold on to it for that long to see how well it ages. All in all, this is a super good beer, and I'm definitely gonna hold on to this recipe because this might become my house stout. Though this is way too good to only brew once, so I'm almost definitely gonna be doing this again, and probably again. So this may not be the last time you see this beer. I'll make sure to upload anything if I do decide to brew this again. Follow me on Instagram if you wanna see that kind of content, because I don't wanna upload the same video of me doing this. So follow me on Instagram if that's the kind of content that you're looking for. Other than that, thanks for viewing, Just Brewing.